and welcome to Tinted Specs podcast. I'm Georgina, and joining me is Jennifer Sahady, a financial wellness expert. She's also known as the walking Wikipedia of money. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
No, I'm really excited to talk to you about this because I love the fact that you're a financial wellness expert. Can you just tell everyone a little bit about what that actually means?
Absolutely. So I started my career working in retirement and helping people plan for something big and distant. And I realized that people struggled with it, not because it was big and distant, but because they didn't have the money management today to begin to focus on bigger things like not needing a job someday. So I really wanted to help people look at it more holistically. And I also realized it impacts all parts of your life. It's really hard to be well, to be happy and healthy if you don't have a good sense of your finances and a good balance in them. So I really feel like it all comes together, understanding the present and the future, balancing the things you need today. And so that creates wellness.
Yeah. And just thinking about when I was doing a bit of research about you, I realized like finances, they affect every single level of our lives from, childhood all the way through because, they can open doors. Obviously, money doesn't bring happiness necessarily, but it definitely is a strong foundation of which to build other things on, for a successful career, a successful relationship, all of those kinds of things. So your background gave you a huge amount of experience talking to a vast range of companies. So through that, you got a lot of you learned a lot from other people, didn't you?
Yes, absolutely. I've spoken with companies of all sizes and people from all backgrounds. I started out working predominantly in the US, and I've actually worked in 48 of the 50 states. And if you know anything about the USA, it's very broad and there's a lot of differences. So getting to see how young people handled their money, how older people handled their money, how people in the South versus the Midwest versus the Northeast versus the West Coast. And it was amazing to see the things that were in common, right? There's actually a lot of similarities. I was at a big tech company out in Mountain View, California, like some of the brightest of our world. And they were asking the same questions that I had received in a manufacturing plant in Louisiana the day before. And that blew my mind. And it really made me realize, wow, we all need this. And I travel a lot personally. And in my travels through Europe and Asia, I found the same things. And I found really different systems and how culture ties into it. But still, no one talks about money. Like it's the one thing that unites us in the world.
I know, it's like money is this dirty word. And I was just showing you my vision board, and on it I said, I'd like to be paid appropriately, but I'm going to change that to being paid well for something I love. But anyway, well, yeah, I'll think about that. But it does impact relationships and everything in your life. So you decided to set up as a financial wellness expert kind of because of the pandemic. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was working in finance, my company had some financial troubles, right? And I thought that was amazing. I was like, wow, even in finance, right? Like this can happen. Even when we know this, we don't always follow our own advice. And in that moment of frustration, I was able to tell myself, focus on whatever is important to you. Like be happy, find your happiness. Don't worry about the money, it's there. And that was such a gift. And I realized very few people likely would have that same sentiment. And that was a gift that I could give other people. This habit that just came naturally to me after meeting so many people and making all these observations and learning is not natural for everyone else. And that's my way I can really help this world.
Yeah, I mean, before we pressed record, you were talking about how people think you're frugal, but you're not really. You're just careful with your money, which enables you to be able to gift people, but also pay your mortgage. So how would you describe that financial savviness?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's always these perceptions of people who work with money. Either you're greedy or you're stingy, right? The first thing that comes to mind is like an Ebenezer, right? Like, oh, he's counting his pennies and staying home and missing his whole life. And I think that's part of the stigma that we have to work against, because really having an awareness of your money can allow you to do more, to help more, and to make more of your money. And it's also important to recognize that if you don't have a plan and if you don't have a system for your money, there are plenty of outside influences that will nudge you towards their plan and their ideas, right? Like it was across the world news when Jeff Bezos flew into space and said, "Thank you, Amazon customers, you paid for this." And I don't know how everyone else reacted to that, but I cringed down to like the deepest level. I was like, oh, all little people's wants to try to get through a really tough year stuck at home were enough to enable someone to build a spaceship and go into space, right? So if you realize, hey, if I had that same vision and drive, right? Like I could be achieving all of my dreams instead of helping other people achieve theirs. It's so empowering.
Yeah, I think you're right. And actually, that's an awful thing for him to say, isn't it? Flying into space. I bet his PR company were like, shut up.
I like that it's honest.
Yeah, very honest. Yeah. So you were talking about kind of the people you're helping. It's ranging from companies to parents of, daughters, really, isn't it? Because it's just so, it's everywhere money, isn't it? So how do you think you can help to approach all these different people and help them?
Yeah, that's a really tough one. And it's my favorite thing to do, right? We were talking about this earlier. Everyone says niche down. Everyone told me focus only on women because you're a woman. I was like, but I want to help everyone, right? Like I've spoken with refugees and I've helped fellow financial experts because we can all use a second opinion. We can all use a look. And I think the only way you can help everyone is being open to everyone, to listening as much as you talk, right? Like, what are your systems? What has worked for you? What are your dreams? And being just really approachable. I don't look down on anyone. I don't judge any past decisions. I recognize whatever decision you made sense at the time. And the fact that it might not make sense now is awesome proof of your growth and your ability to do more as you learn more and grow. I just think that's awesome.
Yeah, you're right. And I think that in the YouTube video you did all about marriage, that blew my mind because I think most people don't even think about talking about what your idea about your core values about money are. But basically you're saying that we should be doing it way earlier than when we get to the altar.
Yeah, and I'm actually co-authoring a book right now. It's not ready yet, but it's on parenting and money, right? Like the earlier you start, the better. But for sure, that TED Talk was so important to me because I was always meeting these people one-on-one. And I can't tell you how many times I was the only person in someone's life to know they were going through a divorce because there's so much shame about it. But because we were talking about their retirement, that was really relevant. And it decimates retirement accounts. It really changes plans. And I know this is the case in the US. I was just talking with some family in Germany, and they're like, my rent points, like, oh, this divorce is going to get me. I'll never be able to retire now. It's like such a big deal. And I'd have one conversation with someone and try to help them salvage the pieces of their life. And then the next person would come in and they'd be 20 and bright and fresh and single and saving hard and with big dreams for the future. And then say, what else can I do? And I always walked the line in my job. And I would look around to see if anyone else was listening. And I would say, marry carefully.
Yeah.
Because you would see the results of if you just said, well, I'm attracted to this person, or we have the same interests. Those are really important things, but it's not the only thing, right? If you find, oh, I love this guy, or I love this woman, she's so generous. Well, recognize that when you have a shared account, they're still going to be generous. And if you feel like they're being generous with your money, that trait that you loved about them might suddenly really impact your relationship.
Yeah, so the shared account.
Yeah, most people do share accounts.
Yeah. And you're saying, yeah, talk about it, maybe do a personality test, you said, and just to think if you have the same kind of core values to do with money. I mean, I was saying that I got a puppy last year, and that's definitely, I hadn't added that into, it's amazing and I love her very much, but I hadn't added that into my financial spreadsheet, which now I'm going to be redoing, where you put in all your costs in and costs out, because that actually, it does have quite a big impact on the sense that she only goes to doggy daycare once a week, but that's 4 times a month, and that's a regular outgoing. And things like pet insurance and the vet insurance and all these other things. So it is worthwhile, thinking about all of these things. As well, I've got a beautiful dog that I absolutely adore, but with that comes a financial element. And also, if she gets hurt, you're going to have to pay some of the money. So you need to make sure you've saved around that. So how would you get people to preempt these issues earlier? What would you suggest? So the bright young 20-year-old, what would you say to them to do?
So I would have people just kind of think through the process, right? So we can take your beautiful puppy as an example, and congratulations on your puppy, by the way. I'm a huge pet person.
Yeah.
I'm a huge animal person. So the first thing I would say is like, great, you have a puppy. Like, what does a puppy need, right? And I would have just write it down on a piece of paper, like a puppy needs food. Okay. And just walk them through, what if the puppy gets sick, right? Like, do you have money or a plan for that? What if, does the puppy's going to get older, right? He's going to have some conditions. What is your plan? Will you be able to get out of work and bring them to the vet? Do you have a friend? Are they going to stay home all day with you? Just think through the steps and then put the money behind it, right? So then start assigning numbers once you have the ideas, and then check those numbers by researching online. We have so much information available, right? I can tell you, just like I feel some kids are really lucky. They're born into an easy, comfortable life. It's the same thing with pets. One of my friends runs a veterinary clinic, and she's told me a few heartbreaking stories about someone who handed over their dog because they couldn't afford the bills for the medical treatment. And that broke my heart, right? To me, money is only important because it helps everything else, right?
Yeah.
I get to have this puppy and love it and take care of it. That's amazing, right? So now I have money that will allow me to keep that relationship, that will give me the options to say, whatever it costs, please save my puppy.
Yeah, you're so right. And actually, that's another thing I need to add to my Excel sheet: puppy food, pet food. I mean, so it's almost like drawing a picture of your dog and literally just brainstorming all the costs that are associated with it. So it would be the same for marriage or getting, for the actual wedding day, or buying a house, or that kind of thing. So you can preempt it and go from there. So, you have some fantastic quotes, which really resonated with me on your Instagram account. Save me today, I'll save you tomorrow. Buy your money. And I thought that was so true, because it's like a love story, isn't it? But it kind of enables you to have a love story of life, really, doesn't it?
Exactly. Like you were saying before, money doesn't make you happy. Absolutely not. But not having money will make you unhappy, right? Because having money just gives you options, and who doesn't want more options? And I can't tell you how many times in my own life, even though I am a ridiculous planner, you can probably guess that about me. Huge dork. I was just planning my meals for the week. I plan my grocery list. I'm just a planner. It's who I am. My dad always told me, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Things like that. And so, I make all of these plans, but then you hear, on the other hand, you plan and God laughs. It's so true, right? So money just gives you a backup plan, right? Haha.
Yes.
Plan. I made this plan. Sometimes it works, but when it doesn't, I have this extra money that's there to help me, to give me options, right? If I don't love my job, well, I have money that I can use to keep myself afloat until I find a new job that I really, really love. Or my friends want to go on a trip. I want to be able to join them. I don't want to say I can't afford to. I don't want to put it on a credit card and have to pay 30% more than everyone else because I didn't have the cash on hand, right? Having that extra money frees you up for so much. And what you're giving up is often tiny stuff that you didn't really want anyways.
Yeah, well, I think we've all learned that a bit during the pandemic, because when everything was closed, I sometimes think about all the money I spent on getting my eyebrows threaded and, things like that. And, that was every month or whatever, I mean, now I just myself, but, you just, and I suppose also buying coffees every day, although I've got kind of back into that habit. I do remember there was a time when I used to not allow myself to buy lunch or coffees, and I worked out how much money that was saving me a month, which then went towards my holiday fund. So I think that the thing is, there are times in your life when you do become a bit more financially savvy, and then there's other times where you kind of forget about it, don't you? So I guess that's
life,
why
right? You can go through those cycles.
yeah, it's so important to have a plan. You also said include money in your daily affirmations. I think that's so true because, yeah, like we talked about, it opens so many doors. Consumerism is consuming. Now, this is interesting because obviously, I mean, talking about Amazon, we can buy anything we want very quickly on many different websites as well. But so do you think that's probably one of the biggest issues we have?
Absolutely. Yeah. So they actually have named it scientifically the hedonistic treadmill,
Oh,
right?
wow.
So whatever it is you buy gives you a certain reward, right? There's a need and it's met by the reward of buying something, but it's temporary. So instead of taking a step back and saying, that didn't work, what might work better? We go back to that short rush of whatever we did, whether it's junk food, whether it's stupid purchases, whether it's bad relationships, right? Like we tend to just go for what's quick and easy and feels good in the moment, but might not be what we actually want. So like one of the things I realized when I buy something new, it feels good. When I wear that new thing for the first time, it feels good. And I realized I could stretch that out, right? So I buy it and then I keep it in the bag and I put it in the closet. And then the next time I'm having a bad day and I want to go out and buy something, I'm like, wait, I have something new. And then I wear my new thing and I get like that second good feeling. Or instead of buying something new, I look through my closet and I say, what's something I haven't worn in a while that I love? Or I trade clothes with my friends because if you've never worn it before, it feels new to you and it's exciting. And if you take care of your clothes, it has a longer life than you probably have interest in it.
That's a really good tip. And well, I always, if I buy something and it's slightly more expensive, I always try and divide it by the times I'm going to use it.
Yes, it's so good. You're a
Yeah.
naturalist.
So, yeah, I just keep forgetting that I actually used to be quite good at this. But I think that, swapping clothes with friends, all those kinds of things I mean, all of this is great for the environment as well, isn't it? So you can get a sustainability tick as well as, and you're right, looking after your clothes for better enables them to last for longer. So these are, great financial and sustainability tips. Now, you have a blog as well, which I really enjoyed reading. And one of the blogs was about women in finance. And what I loved was you wrote kind of a list. First, women are super savers. I don't know why, but I envisaged myself as wearing a cape and flying into the air like a superhero. And women shine when storm clouds, I can't see it, roll in. Yeah. And then third, women are clever collaborators. So I suppose it's in our genetics to be able to do these things maybe more easier than men, would you say?
Absolutely. I think oftentimes when it comes to money, because women have so much on their plate, they find this is an easy one to hand off, right? I've heard people proudly say, my husband handles that, or my dad handles that, or my financial consultant, which are 80% men, handles that. And I always think, yes, it's nice to have a driver, but then you're not in control. You have no options. And especially if you don't know what's going on. Like it's perfectly okay to share responsibilities, but just check in once in a while because women have incredible talents. And it's not spoken about that way, right? When you see women in movies and in media in general, we are typecast as being superficial shopaholics, and it's just not the case. Right? Women have these incredible skills that are really often overlooked. And if we don't know they're there, we can't use them. Right? So I love reminding people about their natural talents and their abilities. Women are very creative when it comes to savings, right? Whereas oftentimes guys will say, oh yeah, I'll just buy it. Right?
Yeah.
Women are like, okay, how do I figure this out? Like we love those little problems that guys often don't busy themselves with.
Yeah, I think, and then I wanted to also ask you about, do you find that you are one of only a few women in your industry?
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's one of the things I think that makes me more approachable. Right? Guys often go in and when they're an expert and they're confident, they just tell you. And that's one approach, but it's not so collaborative, right? I would rather teach someone to fish than give someone a fish. That's just my approach. And you have to have a softer approach to it too, because you have to realize that everyone from top tough executives to stay-at-home moms, like everyone's really vulnerable when it comes to money. right? I've seen people with millions of dollars say like, is it enough? Am I doing the right things? Right? They have the same concerns as everyone else. And we don't see that. We don't know that everyone is secretly really insecure and unsure about this stuff. So I like being able to take a very soft approach that I don't think society allows men to do.
Yes.
Right? Like it's awkward when men are like supportive and emotional, like, well, whoa, what's going on with that guy? Like there's something wrong with society. I think everyone should be able to do that. Like my colleagues would ask me like, well, what do you do when someone starts crying? Right? If you're talking to someone who's 60 and they've never saved for retirement, you're likely going to get some tears. And I said, I hug them. I'm like, oh, I can't do that. I'm like, you're right. As a man, you're not allowed to go around hugging crying women. I luckily can.
Yeah. I mean, I think retirement is a big issue, isn't it? Because, you know, I mean, I do put aside a bit of money every month, but if I then look at what I'm going to get when I retire, it's not really going to, you know, allow me to do a huge amount. But luckily I have, you know, I think I'll be okay. But what I love is you were saying that you, people are always asking you about where to find good, trustworthy information. And you just kind of pointed out this on your TikTok. I wrote this down. I have over 15 years of financial experience, more licenses than the average financial advisor, and more experience than most 100-year-old men, which just made me laugh so much because I just thought this is so true. And, you know, you're basically, and you're approachable and people can approach you. So where can they find out how to get in touch with you, Jennifer?
Absolutely. So they can visit me on my website. It's my name, jennifersahady.com. Sahady is Sahady. That's also my email. So I'm jennifer@jennifersahady.com. I think credibility starts there, right? Like you can trust me, you know my name. I'm happy to help because it is hard to find. So many people have financial incentives to nudge you in one direction or another. And I wish society wasn't set up that way. I really do. I recognize they have to do what they have to do to support their family and be generous as well. I wish it was easier, but since it isn't, I've created my own business to help.
Yeah, and you do help a huge amount of people. So schools, employees, companies. And I was just, you know, I was thinking about, you were saying about people incentivize you to spend money. So like when you're starting up, say for this podcast, if I just paid for everything, have 3 times the outgoings where I've just gone, no, I can't do that. I mean, sometimes I have made a few errors, but I'm now realizing that, you know, you do have to double check the small print and check, am I paying this per month for a month, or can I get out of it? Or, you know, you do need to be a bit more careful about that, don't you? And that unfortunately means you need to allocate time, which maybe is what people have struggled with, do you think?
Absolutely. And one of the things I like to help people do is to both look at their bank accounts and figure out how to allocate that money, but also to look at their time, right? Because that's a different type of bank account and how to allocate that. Right. So oftentimes I'll target social media, right? Like how many hours do you spend on Facebook a day, right? Like, do you have that meter on your phone that tells you how much screen time? All right. That's something we can identify as time I have that I can reallocate, right? Like how much time do you spend watching TV? I don't know if it's the same by you, but people in America love binge watching TV, right?
Yes.
So you can easily lose 4 hours right there. Right. You're like, okay. Well, you can say, I won't do that one day this week.
Yeah.
And then you have a bonus 4 hours. If you don't do that at all this week, you've got an extra day, right? So I really love being creative. I see it as a game, right? How do I maximize my money? How do I maximize my time? And that's how I have so much experience. I just love learning. So I spend all of my time trying to learn more from other people, from other societies, from other cultures.
Yeah, no, you made me laugh actually, because I am a bit of a reality TV addict, and my latest one is Australia Married at First Sight, and I know, so every night lately I'm just like an hour and a half, but like if I didn't do that for one night, I'd have an hour and a half extra time to fill in my financial spreadsheet and to know where my money is going. So I've already learned something, well, many things throughout this interview. So I wanted to ask, just as we're signing off, kind of what have you learned over this period of time throughout the pandemic, kind of when you started the business and to where you are now?
Yeah, so one of the main things I learned was how much this is needed, right? How we don't talk about it with our kids. We don't talk about it with our partners. We don't talk about it at work. We don't talk about it with our children as we get older. It's so important. So I can tell you, if you can, build up the courage to face your numbers yourself and to start having those conversations. Not only will you improve your own life, but you'll improve the lives of everyone around you. I can share with you one quick story because I think stories are so memorable. I was trying to cut back on going out for coffee and I failed. My plan was not to go. And my friend said, "Hey, do you want to grab coffee?" And I said, "Yes." And I reflected back on it. I didn't say like, "Oh, well, this is never going to work," or "I'm an idiot." I said, why did I say yes when my plan was to say no? And I realized when my friend asked me out for coffee, she was saying, "Do you want to spend time with me?" And I will never say no to that. I couldn't care less about
Yes.
the coffee, but I wanted that moment in the coffee house with something warm and my friend. And so I tried to come up with a creative idea. And the next time my friend asked me, "Do you want to get coffee?" I tried something new, right? Life is all trial and error. It's a game. And I said, "Would you mind if we brought coffee from home? I'll bring you one if you'd like, and we can go for a walk and sit in the park instead. I'm trying to save money, and I spend so much money at cafes." And amazingly, that creativity and that honesty paid in dividends because my friend said, "Oh my gosh, I'm trying to do the same thing. Thank you so much." Right? So we strengthened our friendship and supported each other by facing finances and by actually talking about it. And I doubt that's what anyone would expect, right? When we start to think about looking at our money, we're like, oh, talking about it, like, oh no, people aren't going to like me or it's going to be uncomfortable. And every time I found I had those conversations, it deepened the relationship and helped support someone I really care about.
I think that we all need to start having honest conversations about money with our friends, with our, partners, with children, even with the dog, kind of, they can't talk back. Because you're right, though, it strengthens relationships. And I think it's such a shame that we've been brought up to think about it, talking about it as a no-go area. It needs to be talked about. Jennifer, thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Lovely to meet you, and take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.